You've saved $1 million for retirement. You're ready to leave the working world behind, and you're still wondering if you've done all you can. Have you thought of every angle? Or will you make a mistake with your retirement decisions that you live to regret? Today, I'm walking you through how you can get the most out of your $1 million in retirement savings and the two big levers you need to pull to get more income and pay less taxes in retirement. You might not have exactly $1 million, and you might not be exactly 62 years old. What's most important is the process to take when you retire and deciding if you want someone to guide you through this part of your life where you're facing these big decisions that could make you or cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime. The 3 steps you need to take in order to help you get the most out of your retirement are: number 1, get a good handle on your longevity, your life expectancy estimate. That's the number 1 input into how much money you need in retirement. Number 2 is make a great Social Security decision. This is likely a one-time decision that's going to affect the rest of your life. And then number 3, take a look at your ongoing tax planning. You get to decide how your taxes look each year, and going through that is going to really help you in retirement. Today, we're going to walk through the $1 million retirement savings of Dave and Sue, who are 62 years old, and they're following this process to make great retirement decisions. The number 1 risk to your retirement is your life expectancy. As you're making your choices about when to retire, what to do with your Social Security, and how much money you can take out of your investments, your life expectancy, and actually your beliefs too about your life expectancy, are incredibly important. Before you look at anything, the investments, the Social Security choices, you need to get an accurate estimate of your life expectancy. Let me show you how to get that through longevityillustrator.org. Longevityillustrator.org is going to base your life expectancy on your inputs. It's looking at thousands and thousands of people and projections of what is most likely to happen to you. So what's interesting about life expectancy is just about everyone has an age that they think they might live to. Let's find an accurate age though, and talk really about what life expectancy really is. Most people think life expectancy is exactly this number. What's the average length of time you ought to live? And in this world, instead of picking an age, they pick an average length of time from that age. Now remember, they're both 62 years old. So Dave here has 24 years on average that he might live. That would be 86 for him. And Sue would be 26 years. That would get to 88. Now 86 and 88 are much longer than the life expectancy you might hear in the news of 78. Well, this is their personalized life expectancy. It's based on them having average health and not being a smoker. You hear about the average life expectancy, and that's looking at everybody. It's also looking at what's your life expectancy from birth. There's a chance that you will be born and not make it to 62. But here you are at 62. You've already beat those odds. And because you've beat those odds, your life expectancy is no longer 78. It's something different. So that's one thing you want to take into account. Another part is that your life expectancy as an average is just that. It's an average. You might live less than the life expectancy. You might live longer than the averages. And if there's 2 of you, on average, one of you will live less than average and one of you will live longer than average. When there's 2 of you, you've got to look at that longer than average part, because on average, one of you will live longer than average. So really, when there's 2 of you, you've got to look at this big column right here called either. And accounting for that, there's usually 3, 4, 5 years. In this case for Dave and Sue, there's 4 years on average. One of them will be around longer than just their own individual life expectancies of 86 and 88 we'll look into. So what we're going to plan on is 86 for Dave and 92 for Sue. So let's see how Dave and Sue's $1 million retirement might look for them. We've got their birthdays in there. We've got their life expectancy now that we have taken a look at that of 86 for Dave, 92 for Sue. The next piece of this is making a great Social Security decision. So let's look at Dave's Social Security with about $2,500 as his expected amount at his full retirement age of 67, and $1,500 for Sue's amount that's promised to her at her full retirement age of 67 as well. Now, when you go to a Social Security calculator, it's going to give you the exact dollar amount of what is going to be the best way to go if you know exactly the day you retire and exactly the day that you're no longer retired because you've passed on. Well, that's unlikely to happen. When you're making a good Social Security decision, you've got to account for what if you live below average, what if you live longer than average, and just how, especially when there's two of you, things go into play, where there is a survivor benefit. So let's take a look at the Social Security piece and figure out what's the best value, what's the biggest decisions you can make to give you the best chance on Social Security. Now, most Social Security calculators are going to tell you exactly this. This is the primary, the highest dollar amount you can expect over your lifetime, and it's got Dave filing at 70, it's got Sue filing at 70. Most calculators are going to show you something like that, where maybe you both go all the way to 70, or maybe one of you goes to 70 and the spouse, whoever's got the lower one, takes it at 67. Most people I talk to don't want to wait all the way to 70. So let's take a look to see what are the ways you can get most of the value of waiting on Social Security without having to fully wait till 70. And of course, there's quite a bit of value. You take a look at what if they waited all the way to 70, they might get 1.8 million from their Social Security over a lifetime. What if they both took it early at age 62? They might get 1.3 million over a lifetime. This is over $400,000 of a difference. So it's a huge decision. It's a huge deal to go and make the best Social Security decision for you. Here's a few things to take a look at. Now, a lot of times when you're comparing Social Security, you generally just look at what if you wait the absolute latest, and what if you take it the earliest? Or what if you both wait till full retirement age, and what if you take it earlier? And certainly when you take things earlier, you get more money earlier on. And then at some point, when you file for Social Security at a later dollar amount, you start getting more money from having waited then, and eventually it catches up. That's what a lot of people call that break even. And so you take a look here, this break even is about 14 years or so for them. 14, 15 years. That's a common number I hear where you might say, it's going to take me 15 years to break even, or I'm not going to get this benefit until I'm 77, 78, 82, whatever the number is. It feels like it's such a long, long time. For them, that number is 77, so we're talking here about a 15-year break even. Well, it's not just the only two choices of early versus late, or early versus full retirement age. I would encourage you to really split up your choices where maybe one of you takes it early, one of you takes it later. And quite often it's the earlier person taking it when they have the lower dollar amount, and it's the older and higher dollar amount of Social Security person taking it later on. So let's see how that really works out here, because if we went from taking it early versus just waiting all the way, it's showing us that there's these huge dollar amounts, a $434,000 difference. Well, let's take a few other options and see if you can get most of that difference from waiting, but not having to both wait 8 full years, kind of 16 years total. How can we get the most out of that and make a good choice? So I'm going to compare it to, what if only one of you waits, and I'm going to say all the way to 68. So one person waits to 68, one person takes it early at 62. Now, if you both waited till 70, that's roughly 16 years combined of waiting. We're talking here only 6 years of waiting combined. And remember, it was about $430,000 of a difference if you both waited all the way. One of you waiting the 6 years compared to both of you waiting the full amount of time, that's a $200,000 difference. Half your amount of value, half the value you get from waiting from Social Security comes from just one person waiting the 6 years, not both of you waiting all the way to 70. Here's another example. Let's take a look at what if you both waited 3 years. So if both of you wait 3 years, or one of you waits 6 years, that kind of averages out exactly the same. So you'd think the numbers would be exactly the same overall. But when you do it that way, you actually come out ahead by roughly 100 grand. The reason you come out ahead by roughly 100 grand on one of you waiting longer than expected and one of you taking it early versus both of you kind of taking it on average is right here in that survivor benefit, where you might be getting a much higher benefit. This is $900 extra now that the surviving spouse is getting because the one person waited 6 years instead of 3. And if that person's willing to wait the extra few years, the other person doesn't have to wait the extra few years to get that benefit from Social Security. So take a look at what you think would work out best for you, but don't just look at only I take it early and she takes it early, right? There's only 2 of us taking it early, or we both take it at 65 or full retirement age, or we both take it at age 70, which is quite often what the calculators say. Take a look at splitting apart your Social Security decision. One person taking it early, one person taking it later. Quite often, doing it that way gives you the most benefit while accounting for and getting you some income from Social Security right away. Now, your Social Security decision can't be looked at in a vacuum. It's not just one thing, and how do you get the most out of that one thing? If you wait on Social Security, you're going to have to take money out of your investments early. When you wait on Social Security or you take it early, there's different tax decisions going on. So let's just take a look at the combination of how does your Social Security decision, along with how your investments are set up, how is that going to affect you overall? Remember, I showed that there was something like a $400,000 difference that might show up to you from Social Security if you both waited all the way to 70. But that's not accounting for you're taking money out of your investments early. So let's take a look at these different decisions here. What if you didn't do any tax planning? You just did the conventional wisdom, which means you take money out of your regular accounts first, followed by your traditional accounts next, and then your Roth accounts last. But you're not doing anything related to managing your tax bracket or doing Roth conversions. And you just took your Social Security early, which is quite often what happens. This $1 million retirement might turn into a $750,000 ending balance. So everything above that is some extra value. If you happen to have one person wait all the way to 65, just 3 short years, that looks to give you roughly 80 grand of extra value. Your Social Security decision right there, one person waiting 3 years, might give you 80 grand extra value. Now, what if that person waited the 6 years and that gave you the extra value on there? Now we're talking 300 grand extra. So you wait the 6 years and it gives you quite a bit of value overall. And even here, we haven't done any tax planning at all. So we're just really trying to isolate this Social Security decision. When you've got $1 million, you might think that your investments and your taxes have a lot to do with your retirement. Your Social Security decision might have 300 grand just right there to give you extra value into your retirement. Take a large amount of time to figure out, am I making the right Social Security decision? That's why you've got to look at your longevity first, then look at your Social Security decision before you look at your ongoing tax planning. And you might be wondering, should I be doing things like Roth conversions? Should I take money from my traditional IRA accounts or my Roth IRA accounts? Should I take it from my savings account? Well, you don't know until you look at it. And when you look at your taxes, you've got to look at not just this year, not just last year, not just next year, but the taxes over your entire lifetime. I'd encourage you to look at and project out all the taxes over your lifetime, which of course might take a lot of math, which is why you need computers to help you out with that. Or if you're not using a planning software like we're doing here, at least think of the before and after points and how your taxes might look ahead of time, of before and after you take your Social Security, before and after you retire, before and after required minimum distributions start, and of course before and after, if there's 2 of you, it goes down to only 1 of you, where your taxes change from the married filing joint situations to the single situations. When you plan out your entire lifetime of taxes, or you at least think of different points in time when they might change, you really ought to be able to see a few times where, boy, it sure looks like my taxes are lower here, and it looks like my taxes are higher there. And now you've got something to work with, where you can try to pay taxes at the lower times when you've got a lower tax rate and try to avoid the taxes, defer them at the times when you have the higher tax rate. So we've gone through and we have projected out each of the different tax years that are there, including where in 2026, the tax laws are expected to change, including down the road where when you are 73 or 75, you're going to start getting the required minimum distributions, or way down the road when at some point in time you have passed on and now you are showing up as the single taxpayer rates. So these are the projections that we're looking at. And it's not just a static, okay, here's exactly how it's going to be, look at what if I make some choices? What if I make some differences? So let's look at how planning out your taxes might affect you over time. Now, I'm having the computer run thousands and thousands of different scenarios of what if you take money from your traditional account or your regular account? What if you do a Roth conversion or not do a Roth conversion? What if you do a Roth conversion over 2 years or 3 years or 4 years? How much of a Roth conversion are you doing? When you look at all the different scenarios, it's going to give you a direction of which way you might want to be headed. Now, the computer helped me run thousands of different scenarios. It's showing me the top 100 or so here. And what I like to look at there, which really gives me the direction you ought to be looking at, where I'm looking at all these top scenarios, and they're all suggesting for this couple, they ought to do some Roth conversions. And we're also looking at how much Roth conversions should they do? Should they be targeting the 12% tax bracket, the 22% tax bracket, the 24% tax bracket? Are they worried about paying extra in Medicare costs? It looks like the top of the 12% tax bracket is the right choice for them right now. And then, of course, how long should they be doing these Roth conversions? Perhaps in the year 2026, when the tax laws change, perhaps they change their tactics. Maybe they keep it going, where they keep doing the Roth conversions until they hit the age where they are maxing out their Social Security at age 70. So these are giving you the different ways you ought to be looking at and considering. Now for Dave and Sue, what we put it all together on is that they are going to file for Social Security at 68 for Dave, 62 for Sue. They're also going to be looking at Roth conversions to the top of the 12% tax bracket now till 2029, when they change around how they might start taking money out of their accounts. When you do Roth conversions early and you do it slowly over time, well, now you have a different situation going on in your Roth accounts. And at some point in time, you might want to actually live on both your traditional and your Roth. That's a way to lower your taxes over time. So we're looking at some different comparisons here. And one is, what if you did absolutely no tax planning at all, no Social Security at all, and chances are their $1 million is looking to be dropping to about $750,000. Or they did some Social Security planning and they stayed about even, where they've got 300 grand more just from their Social Security decision over their lifetime. Or they did some ongoing tax planning. They looked at it every single year and decided, here's what we ought to do with our taxes, and do the right amount of Roth conversions, or don't do any Roth conversions, or take money from the traditional or the Roth or their savings. That seemed to give them roughly 100,000 more in value over the lifetime. And you can see where a lot of that comes in, right? A lot of this extra value comes in from more Social Security over their lifetime. A lot of the extra value comes in from the surviving spouse getting a higher dollar amount. A lot of the extra value comes in right here of having lower taxes, where we've projected out their taxes, if they do no tax planning, hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxes over your lifetime is what you're likely to pay. And you wouldn't mind if you cut that down by 100 grand, 200 grand, cut it down in half. For Dave and Sue, doing the tax planning, looks like they could cut their taxes by roughly half, pay $200,000 less in taxes. So when you've gone through and you've made your choices on, here's how we're going to project out our life expectancy. Because of that, here's how we're going to take our Social Security in a way that gives us the most value over time without having to perhaps both waiting all the way to 70. And then based on that, how are we setting up our tax decision of pulling money from traditional accounts, Roth accounts, our regular accounts, our savings accounts? Are we doing the Roth conversions? When you project this out and do this ahead of time, you can really set yourself up for success. Just like Dave and Sue, you have a lot of choices on how to set up your retirement, your investments, a pension perhaps, your Social Security choices, and don't forget your tax planning decisions that you get to make every single year in retirement. Remember that process that they used that you can use as well is to, number one, take a look and get an accurate estimate on your longevity, your life expectancy, and how that plays together, especially as a couple. Number two, make a great Social Security choice. Don't just look at the calculators that say wait all the way to 70, and don't just believe that you both have to do the same thing. See how your decision and their decision plays together to give you the most of your lifetime and to give your surviving spouse the higher benefit that you can make sure that they get. And of course, your tax planning. You don't have to just fall into conventional wisdom where you're just taking things out specifically over time. You can make choices every single year to try to find times when your taxes are lowest and to pay the taxes in to help you defer and avoid the taxes when they're higher. You've worked hard and you deserve to get the most out of your retirement. After watching Dave and Sue, you might be thinking you need to revisit your own retirement plan. Check out my next video where we ask the question, is my retirement plan flawed? I'll see you there. Hi, I'm Jeremy Keil, owner of Keil Financial Partners. And if you're interested in seeing how we help our clients get more income, pay less in taxes, and avoid big retirement mistakes, make sure to go to keilfp.com. That's KEILFP.com.